What a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through. Muller could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Marcus found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello and welcome to hashtag TFHP Euros, the Football Hipsters podcast. I'm your host John. I'm back again, behind the buttons and on the microphone and all that jazz. Chris is being extra lazy. Not only is he having tonight off, he's also having tomorrow off. What a yeah, I'm not going to say the word, but there we go. We decided to be nice. I do, however, have Tom and Drew back with me to help me out so I don't completely mess things up. So, evening, gents.
Sup?
Good evening, my darlings.
Good to have you back. All in chipper moods, it sounds. So we've got 4 games to talk about tonight. Few surprises, few not so surprising, but some good results for some teams that weren't exactly fancied. Now, I'm aware, obviously, Tom, Drew both watched sort of the headline matches from both groups, and I got to watch the slightly damp squibs of the other games.
John's a true hipster.
Yeah, I went true hipster today. So we're going to start with Ukraine-Poland. It finished 1-0 to Poland. Blaszczykowski with the goal. Very good goal by him. But it was a very strange game. Ukraine dominated for the majority of it. Got in behind Poland all day long. Got to the byline so many times I really can't actually recount how many it was. But just could not finish. Partly down to some good last-ditch defending from Poland, but mostly just really poor finishing. Konoplyanka and Yarmolenko were really guilty of it in particular. Just very disappointing tournament from Ukraine in general. As for Poland, I was actually a bit disappointed with them as well. They just really sat back. I think they knew that a point would probably be good enough. They let Ukraine in far too many times. Going forward, they weren't particularly good. The young lad Kaputska was quite impressive in the sort of couple of brief flashes. But as we said, the goal was very good, well worked corner routine. Obviously, you guys didn't watch the game, but Drew, what do you think of Poland so far throughout the tournament? What you've seen of them?
Well, I think they've come and they've done what they wanted. We've talked before about their results against Germany and qualifying, and that Poland were one of the perhaps standout dark horses potentially before this tournament began, and they finished the group stage level on points with one of the tournament favorites. So I think that's what they wanted. I don't think they came in here thinking they would necessarily win the group, although I gave them a decent chance of doing it. But the fact that they're level on points, I think, speaks volumes. And I know that Adam Navalka put a lot of faith in certain players today. Kaputska started, Zielinski got a start as well, and he kept faith in Milik playing off the shoulder of Lewandowski. And, a 1-0 maybe doesn't do justice to the quality that they had, attacking quality that they started. But Ukraine had to come out and attack, so, Poland didn't have to leave themselves open to that. And even though Ukraine couldn't finish, I feel like this is a result that they'll fancy. And going up against the Switzerland side, who, they have some ability in certain areas, but for me, they do struggle to score goals. I think Poland will like that matchup, and I think we might be able to see them in the quarterfinals moving forward.
Yeah, just to sort of give you similar stats from today. Ukraine's 64% possession, passing actually 87%. They had almost doubled the number of passes attempted to Poland and completed almost 477 to 194. So it just shows you like how much of the ball they had, but they just couldn't do anything with it. Tom, obviously you see a lot of Konoplyanka. Yep. when he comes on, but he's a player I know you like. Yarmolenko is obviously their other sort of big star, who's probably most likely to get a move. The talk is this summer. Where do you think it went wrong for Ukraine? There was a lot of talk about divisions within the camp. They looked more together today. They looked to be less infighting, but there was no real end product.
Yeah, well, the infighting things between Stepanenko and Yarmolenko, if I'm correct, there's a big story about obviously Stepanenko. I think it's Dynamo, at Shakhtar and Yarmolenko at Dynamo, and there's a thing with Yarmolenko throwing his shirt on the floor and Stepanenko doing exaggerated celebration, which didn't please Yarmolenko when they played each other. But I'm not too sure about that going on in the squad, but to be honest, the main disappointment has been Yarmolenko and Konoplyanka not finishing. Obviously, when you lose such a talismanic striker in terms of Shevchenko leaving, it's going to be damaging. But Zuzuya, the main guy that's come in, hasn't really cut it. We spoke a lot about Kovalenko before in our preview show as a youngster who really is impressive, and you shouldn't take too much away from this tournament because he's a real talent, but it's the typical thing where he kept getting brought off as Zinchenko coming on, and now this game Zinchenko started, and I believe that Kovalenko came on for him instead this time, and it just hasn't really clicked in the system. And you summed it up in your highlights of the match with Yarmolenko and Konoplyanka just been really guilty of not finishing their chances, and I've been quite disappointed because the game against Germany in particular was quite promising. I mean, the amount of times that Ukraine got in behind and then just couldn't finish, which has led on to the theme of the tournament, and then to get beat like they did against Northern Ireland, which is great for Northern Ireland, but at the end of the day, you really would be expecting Ukraine to win that. So I think they'll look back upon this as quite a disappointing tournament, and I fear for their manager, unless he's already been sacked already, I can't see him remaining in his job much longer.
Yeah, very disappointing tournament for Ukraine. Obviously, they go home. Just really, really poor. So anyone we big up before a tournament, just don't put any money on them doing anything, because it's
you
not
said
going.
England, so
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, they are through, so there's one thing, but it's not going great for our prediction so far. Very disappointing for Lewandowski. I do feel a little bit for him because he's working very hard up front, but not getting much service. So hopefully in the knockout stages, he gets actually to have a chance to shoot on goal, because he looked very frustrated with Milik today, wasting a few opportunities. But we'll move on to the other game in Group C, which was Germany against Northern Ireland. Finished 1-0 to Germany. Expected result, probably expected more goals, to be perfectly honest. Good result. Eventually, it turned out for Northern Ireland. I only saw the highlights of this game, little brief flashes. So, Drew, do you want to talk us through sort of how this game went?
Well, I mean, the result was expected. The flow of the match was expected. Jurgen Löw finally went and gave Mario Gomez a start at center forward. He moved Mario Götze over to the left. He also brought in Joshua Kimmich, who played at right back for Benedikt Höwedes, who came off the bench. Germany did really, really well the first half. Honestly, probably should have gone ahead by more than just the one goal. Michael McGovern stood on his head for 90 minutes, and honestly, I'm surprised it didn't finish 3-4-0. The chances are there. Germany was much more fluid in the final third with Gomez at center forward, and you saw from Thomas Müller, this is what he wanted. In the first two games with Götze playing that false nine, you would think there was more movement, but Germany didn't lack the ability to play that long ball to a bigger center forward to knock it down to someone like Müller, who I know you two know is one of the most intelligent forwards in the final third, with with making runs into channels, making runs of the center forward, and Müller had 4 or 5 chances today just because of Gomez putting him through, knocking the ball down to him, dragging center defenders away for Müller to then run into the slot through the middle. So Germany looked better. Their balance was a little bit better. But I'm still concerned about the fact that they're still insistent on only really playing the slow build-up type possession game, even though they have a lot of players who are capable of playing more direct, more incisive, more quick. But Jurgen Löw's not putting faith in those players. He keeps bringing Andre Schürrle off the bench, which is actually starting to annoy me a little bit. Like, he has like someone like Leroy Sané who come in where if someone's sitting back compact like Northern Ireland has been, or anyone else has been this tournament, you kind of want someone who has pace, who has the ability to feel comfortable on the ball, taking players on, and sometimes you need something a little bit different to break a team down. So Germany, at the moment, they lack that ability to break down efficiently enough, consistently enough, a really staunch defense. And for me, that's a concern. If they come up against someone like an Italy, they could actually struggle. And we'll go on to later, how Spain, they struggled to break Croatia down in the second half when they switched their approach, when they switched to center forward. I know Tom will speak more about that later, but this is a thing we've all mentioned, that this is a tournament that's showing that possession and build-up play doesn't always work as effectively as it used to 4 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago. So I still have some questions, but they got the result. They topped the group as expected, so now we'll see what they come on to in the knockout stage. But They haven't been as good as I thought they would be. But I did say that before the tournament that they might. I don't think they were going to win. I think they might make the semifinals, but I don't know if they're going to go on and win it because there's still a very large imbalance in the squad. So we'll have to see if that gets addressed moving forward.
Yeah, Tom. As for Northern Ireland, they knew it was going to be a bit backs to the wall today. Keeping it 1-0, good performance. I saw a couple of times they had a few breaks on. Germany, obviously, they do push all their players up, and it is generally Boateng and Hummels at the back. Do you think there was an argument they could have exploited it a bit better, or 1-0 was a fair result in the end, and just Northern Ireland held on for what they could?
I wouldn't say it's a fair result. I think that Germany should have took the chance down. I mean, Muller hitting the woodwork twice shows that. I mean, I'm just annoyed that Northern Ireland provided the biggest upset of the tournament in not playing Will Grigg whatsoever. I mean, all that build-up, and for what? Didn't play a single minute. But we might see him in the final. We'll put him in the final. But I think it's good that they're through. I think they've showed what they can do. I think a lot of people thought they were going to come into the tournament and be quite walked over in a group containing Ukraine, Poland and Germany. I mean, everyone have written them off. So for them to go through is incredible. And going back to the match, I actually was saying to Drew, I thought that Germany could be in trouble at some points coming up against the larger teams, and Drew made the excellent point of they need to come out and attack, they need to come out and win this group. But at the same time, it's only Northern Ireland when you think about it. It's a team with not a load of quality, and now managed to get in. Stephen Davis got in a couple of times down that Germany's right flank, which is, we've mentioned, dangerous because they don't play a right back of sorts. So Kimmich came in. I thought he did okay for a youngster who really hasn't been on the scene in Germany that long, as Drew will tell you. But it's I think it's promising for not just Northern Ireland, but it shows that in the home nations in general, we've seen Wales go through last night, top of the group, and Republic of Ireland have a very small chance of going through. So you never know. Not calling Republic of Ireland a home nation, won't make that mistake, but you know what I mean. So no, but it's good to see. It's great to see Northern Ireland going through, and their fans were brilliant in the stadium last night, earlier tonight. So yeah, impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw bits and pieces of the game. I was obviously concentrating on the Poland game, but when I did get a chance to sort of switch screens, I was quite impressed by Jamie Ward, and it struck me as a very industrious, work hard. We'll probably concede, but try and keep it as low a score as possible to give ourselves the best chance to go through. Just quickly before we move on from the Germany game, Drew, you want to talk a little bit about Mario Götze. Not my favourite player, it must be said. Has been playing the sort of false nine. Got shifted out today. Still got a lot of stick, I saw today. Was he guilty of wasting chances? Is he good enough to be starting in this team? Should there be someone coming in instead of him?
He's not guilty of missing chances. He's guilty of being poor. When Götze played under Klopp at Dortmund were using a system that suited Götze because he would pick the ball up and he would either run at defenses or he would have runners ahead of him, like the likes of Marco Reus that you would see, or even when Lewandowski for center forward is incredibly mobile, as I know you guys know, so they would make runs for him. But Götze in this system isn't working nearly as much, and this is kind of the reason why Pep questioned bringing Götze to Bayern Munich, as we know he wanted Neymar instead. He doesn't fit, for me, at least in my opinion, a slow, methodical, build-up possession type game. And if this is what Germany are going to play, they need somebody else. Likewise, Schürrle doesn't fit that style either. So I think the injury to Marco Reus pre-tournament actually hurt them because Reus does have pace in wider areas, but he can play possession. You know, he is interchangeable. But that's why I think they have to try something different. You know, for me, I think he's young, but you kind of almost have to give someone like a Leroy Sané a chance at this point. I don't think Götze is being very good. There's no reason why for me he should start from here on out in the tournament, no matter how far Germany go. I think Löw has to look at other options at this point for sure.
Yeah, I know there's he's a funny player, Götze. People are very divided on whether he is the sort of next superstar or if he is a little bit overhyped. I'm certainly of the opinion it's the latter. But anyway, we shall move on from there. Moving on to the next group, we've got Czech Republic, Turkey, which I will get through very quickly because I know Tom is chomping at the bit to talk about Spain.
So I think we all are.
Now, Turkey had been pretty dreadful. They were probably competing with Russia for stinking out of the tournament with their performances so far. But tonight they played really well. They beat the Czech Republic 2-0. It's fair to say the Czech Republic were pretty bad. No real sort of outlet, what's the word I'm looking for? Spark or creativity with Rosicky out of the team. Placiel, one of their much more experienced midfielders, wasn't very good tonight. Part of the reason I watched this game was because I wanted to see the youngster Emre Moore, who had been talked up quite a lot, and I hadn't really seen him play before, and he was really impressive. Very exciting player. Set up the first goal for Yilmaz. And then it was Ozan Tufan, the second goal for Turkey. Czech Republic, it feels like a bit of an ageing side to me, kind of in transition. They need some youth coming through. As for Turkey, they've got a chance of going through. They're a strange side because, I mean, in this game, it was quite clear neither team could really defend. But Turkey have got some decent midfielders and good technical players on the ball. But but very, very odd. Just quickly, your boys' thoughts on Turkey first, Drew.
I mean, it's difficult. Sometimes you look at the 11 they put out today, and even though Czech Republic were poor, I think this is probably Turkey's best performance, and it was missing Hakan Çalhanoğlu. So you wonder if Fatih Terim is going to look at the side and say, do I start Çalhanoğlu if they make the knockout stage? Because you might be missing that creativity. But they have such drive in that team now with Emre Mor and Volkan Sen on the flanks. You saw Mor's pace for that when he set up that first goal. That's why he was brought into the team. That's why Borussia Dortmund made a move for him. And then you have Arda Turan now playing kind of that reserved number 10 role where he's at the top of the midfield three, and he's probably better there because he has such an engine on him where he can be anywhere you need him. So I think this might be Turkey's blueprint the way forward to maybe. I don't expect them to go deep into the tournament if they do make the knockout stage, but I think they need more industry in their team. They need to be more direct. They need to not worry about being creative. It's more about just using the assets that they do have in abundance, which is pace. That they are a physical side. If they can use that more so than anything else, and not trying to fit Çalhanoğlu in the system, maybe this might be the way forward for them. So interesting to see where they take it from there if they do, in fact, based off of results tomorrow, make the knockout stage. So.
Yeah, they're listed down here as sort of a 4-4-1-1, but they were playing more sort of it sort of melded to three at the back, and Selçuk Inan was kind of filling in as a third centre back at times. So the system looked a little bit different tonight. But yeah, Emre Mor really did impress me. Looked like he might have had a tiny injury as he came off. Hopefully, it's if they do go through, it's nothing too serious, so we get to see him again before the tournament's over. Tom, Czech Republic. I don't know what you can say about them really. Solid, they're a decent outfit. They can pass the ball okay, but nothing. Just no real quality in the key areas in the team, is there?
Yeah, I think they miss Rosicky a lot tonight. I think he's that outlet of creativity in the side. I mean, Derrida and Placiel are much more industrial midfielders than the likes of Rosicky, but I'm disappointed, to be honest, because I think we saw against Spain how solid they can be, and it wasn't only until the last few minutes that we saw Spain come through and score. And then, obviously, in their next game, they got their point when they came back against Croatia, and it was an excellent way to come back. So they've also got that. They've got the ability to score goals. We've seen that with the likes of Nesid and that coming through the striking areas. But I couldn't really place this game and why it happened, simply because Turkey was so poor in the first two matches, and now they've gone to winning and possibly even could be getting through as qualification in third place. And I think Czech Republic will be going home very, very disappointed that they couldn't get anything out of this game. I couldn't really put it down to why they played so. Not necessarily. I mean, you watched the game. I'll ask you the question. Did they look defensively much more nervous, risky? What do you think?
Well, I mean, they were okay, and obviously Turkey were quite comfortable hitting on the break and using pace, in particular from Moore. And when they went a goal down, the Czech Republic did change the system and go 4-4-2, which I get why they did it. They wanted another target man up front and having 2 men up front so they could hit the balls up there and try and get more people forwards. But it just exposed the midfield even more, and they ended up losing a lot more of the ball. The one surprise left out, I don't know if he was injured or not, was Gabriel Selassie, the fullback, who offers real pace down the right-hand side. And he didn't even come on tonight, even as a sub. So I'm not sure if that was an injury or an actual selection choice, but I certainly would have. I thought they'd have a better chance of him in. But yeah, disappointing overall for the Czech Republic. They obviously go home. Turkey will have to wait and see if they get one of the third place spots. But now we get to move on to the game that I'm sure everyone's wanting to talk about, in particular Tom. Croatia. Let me say this again. Croatia 2, Spain 1. Wow.
Cheers for that.
Yeah. I said last night when recording with Chris, I had this down as a score draw, I think. Just because I thought Croatia had enough to score, but thought Spain would probably be the better team, but they'd be, we're top of the group, it's fine. 1-1, something like that would be okay for us. But lots happened in this game. I didn't get to see all of it, so I'm still catching up with highlights. So Tom, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was surprised at the lineup. We went full strength, which is I really expected to be ringing the changes in there and seeing Bellerin at right back, possibly Azpilicueta at left back, possibly Thiago coming in, Adaruf starting instead of Morata, but he didn't. He went with the same lineup. And it started off really well. I mean, the pass from David Silva to Fabregas to cut that defence open was sublime. And I think Fabregas thought he'd scored, but Morata seemed to come in and nick it. I'm not entirely sure whether the defender would have caught up and blocked it, but it's better to take no chance at all if that's what you want to do. So, I mean, they went 1-0 up, as I say, and then we played like Spain. We kept the ball, we forced upon them, created chances. And then Kalinic scores right at the start of the second half, or right at the end of the first half. I'm actually... Was it right at the end of the first half or right at the start of the second half? Drew, you watched it.
I have no idea because I didn't see the game. I know
I'm gonna
it just says
make
45
you
minutes.
embarrass yourself on air, but no, it was right at the end of the first half.
Yes, yeah, okay. That's what I said in the first place. It's fine. But no, it was just the worst time to score, and Kalinic, it's a brilliant finish, and it makes it 1-1. At that point, we're looking towards John's prediction of a score draw, and you think Spain are just going to sit there and take it and maybe nab a goal at some point, and they push for it, and then the penalty decision came, and it was quite odd. The ball comes over the top. David Silva gets brushed, and he falls over, and the ref gives it. It was very, very harsh. But then what followed next was the first surprise being Ramos. I don't know why he takes the penalties. Don't ask me why he does. He just does. And he does a thing which a lot of commentators have been saying, why don't penalty takers just hit it down the middle? Because the goalkeeper is always going to commit either side. And so he did. And Subic decided to have a 100-metre sprint off his line before the penalty had even been taken. I think it came down. He was about 2.4 yards off his line when the ball had been struck. And obviously he saved it. You create a much less of an angle for the player to shoot at, and it should have been retaken, but it didn't. And probably you could argue justice was done because it wasn't a penalty in the first place. And so Ramos missed that. The game went on. Spain created a couple more chances. Croatia looked dangerous on the break. They got on a few more times, and then in the 87th minute, Perisic was let go on the left hand side, right, and he shoots a ground shot at the near post. Ramos slides in. Ever so slight deflection, and De Gea decides to go with his feet, so his right foot stretches out on the right hand side and just missed the ball, and it goes in, and you're sitting there like, we've been raving about this keeper for years, and he's made one of the basic goalkeeper mistakes of letting a goal in at his near post when he really shouldn't have done. And Croatia now top the group, and if you'd have looked after the Czech Republic performance of where they let in 2 late goals, you'd be thinking, how on earth has this happened? Like, and you think, I can't breathe. No, I'm getting so frustrated because I cannot understand how we've let Croatia, a team that let 2 late goals in against Czech Republic, and we've blown it, and it's silly. It's really silly. It's annoying me. So I'll stop there. Breathe.
5 of the best.
Yeah, so obviously I got to see the goals, and I've got round to seeing the penalty decision. I agree. I don't think it was a penalty. the Subasic was. I've never seen a keeper that far off his line for a penalty. That was absolutely ridiculous. So I do agree by the letter of the law, it should have been retaken. But I think the fact that it wasn't a penalty in the first place, that's fine. It balances out. I don't know how De Gea let that goal in at the end. As an Inter fan, I've seen Perisic run down the wing and you think he's going to do something and he drills the ball low across the ground and normally it either hits the side netting or the keeper makes an easy save at his near post. So when he took that shot, I was fully expecting De Gea just to casually, catch that, and then the next highlight would be him, hitting a weldy into the top corner or something. And I was like, oh, that was the goal. That's weird. So yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, look at the stats. It's all... Spain have double the possession, double the passes completed, over 90-something%, pass completion, all the good stuff that Spain do. Why, again, like you, I don't know why Ramos is taking the penalty. If that's decided by the manager, that's very strange. If it's just simply because he's the captain, I don't know why someone in that team doesn't say to him, I'm Andres Iniesta, I'm better at kicking a ball than you. Or Cesc Fabregas or David Silva, or there's plenty of players in that team who.
Can you imagine a face-to-face between Iniesta and Sergio Ramos? I can only see that going one way.
Yeah, I do understand that, but I just think it's very strange sometimes. A thing in football. As for Croatia, a bit of a surprise result. Maybe we shouldn't be as surprised because we did talk up how good their midfield is. They've got experienced defenders. We knew that their forward line wasn't brilliant, but Kalinic is a decent player. He's done well in his time in Syria. Got the goal tonight. The big miss for them was the fact that obviously they lost Modric. So how were you impressed with Croatia tonight, Drew? Was it? Do you think they got the game plan spot on? Was it just we'll exploit the spaces that Spain tend to leave in those fullback areas?
Well, I think that's what anyone plans to do against Spain. It's just if you really look at it, the 2 goals they scored were down to defensive mistakes. Perisic is being De Gea not knowing what he's doing in his near post, and considering the amount of saves we've seen from him at Premier League level, where he makes worldly saves week in week out, you have to question what in God's name he's doing there. But the first goal in particular, where Kalinic makes that near post run, the finish was fantastic, but Ramos was directly responsible for that goal as well. Poor marking on his part. He sort of just stood still, about 6-7, in the 6-yard box. Didn't track his man. He stopped running with Kalinic, let Kalinic keep going, and then Kalinic put the near post finish in. So, if you want to be a simpleton about it, Ramos is directly responsible for Spain losing. Poor marking on the first goal and an abysmal penalty kick. I mean, honestly, if those 2 things are adjusted, Spain win. But more to the point, I don't know if I know some at the pod will agree, disagree. Chris and I, we've talked about it a lot, but I don't know if Croatia have been that impressive. Tom can agree to disagree if he wants, but I don't think they had that many really high quality chances against Spain, honestly.
Not agree.
No, I mean the Perisic chance, honestly, if it's a half chance that he got lucky for the goal. Their best chance of the game was Kalinic's goal. So, but bar that, I think when you look at them from an offensive perspective, moving to the final third, they really missed Modric quite a bit. I don't think Rogue came in and was a decent replacement for him there, and Rakitic is such a good player, but I would say I think Modric is more creative than Rakitic in the way that they needed today. Modric is more adept at playing on a counter.
Controlling.
Exactly. And I think the way Modric plays for Real Madrid, where Real Madrid are more susceptible to be a counter-attacking side, where Barca is just, control. I think they missed a little bit of Modric's ability to pick up that pass that maybe Rakitic didn't necessarily see, despite his quality. But no, I think they do have a very good midfield. They have a lot of good young players that they can call on. There's a lot of energy in that side. I think that played a part. And a lot of the pundits were saying post-match that the Croatia's young legs really served them well because they were running the entire match, even late on. Even the youngsters were still running. And I think maybe Spain just got tired. And when you get tired, you make mental lapses, and maybe that's why the goal happened. Late on, you never really know. But I've not been that impressed. But they do have the quality to get to the quarterfinals, depending on who they face. But I think this comes down to Spain blowing it, personally, for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think the one thing that Croatia have got that I do like, say compared to Whereas Spain, obviously, we know how good they are and how talented they are, and they play football, and that's their one way of playing. And in the same sense, Germany now is very much, they've got their defined style. That's what they do. They've got amazingly talented footballers. I think Croatia have the slightly different thing that they do have a very, very good midfield. And in other areas, they're perhaps not as strong as other teams, but what they can do is play different styles of football. They can be the team in possession and boss and control it if they need to, because their players are good enough, or they can be sit and soak and hit on the counter. So it's interesting that match up in general. But yeah, Spain for me, I think that really is a disappointment for them. And as a reward for that performance, I'm not sure if it's a reward or it's is it a curse?
For us.
It's a curse or a blessing. I'm not really sure. But either way, that means that Spain now play Italy. Poor old Italy. Oh dear. They could possibly win tomorrow. Have 9 points. Might be the only. Would they be the only team other than? Yeah, they might be the only team in the tournament to get 9 points.
Only team on 9 points and still play Spain.
And still have to play Spain. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's one of the games. I'll give you the other ones that are definitely confirmed for now. Switzerland play against Poland on Saturday. Wales and Croatia are still waiting for their games to see who they will be playing against. They're both on Saturday. France and Germany the same as well. They're still waiting for the third place teams. And England will be facing the runners-up of Group F. That will be the same day as the Italy-Spain game. Now, just before we talk about tomorrow's games quickly, I want to get your hipsters' choices of the day.
Wait, Tom has 2 more points to make real fast.
Oh, well, sure, please.
Thank you for speaking for me, Drew. That's
You're
welcome. Just very too quick, but I'm making longer by saying this. But first on the 2 Spain things. The first one is what Drew makes me remind me of what we were talking about in the chat is bringing on Adariz for Morata was a huge mistake because it just made their play, as Drew says in our chat, so negative. They instantly started playing balls into the box. It's not their style. It doesn't work for them. I was a big abdicator of bringing in Adariz for the squad, but the more I've seen him play, the more I realise that might have been a bit of a mistake, and not having Torres in that squad is really starting to show. Second point is that I think if this game gets played in the knockout round, Spain are much less immature, much more solid, much more focused on what they need to do, and they wouldn't make the mistakes they did. I think having 6 points, feeling comfortable at 1-0 up, and even at 1-1, I don't think you see them make the mistakes they did.
Good points. You do always get a little bit, can be overconfident sometimes. I'm amazed that Thiago Alcantara hasn't seen more game time. I think he's an amazing football player. So good. But very strange.
Cesca's done as well. So.
Yeah, Koke as well as another player. I know he's not as in the Spain style that they play, but I mean he's good enough. But yeah, amazingly talented squad. Right, before we talk about tomorrow's games, I want to get your hipsters' choices of the day. Drew, you can go first for once.
Nonsense. That's ridiculous. I'm not used to that. I think Perisic was great for Croatia. Not just the goal, but his performance. But I'm going to say, I think McGovern. I think the amount of quality saves he made against the likes of Mario Gomez, Thomas Muller, even his save, he had a decent save against Sami Khedira. I'll go for him because he's out of contract in 2 weeks. He's looking for a new employer, and the fact that he put on one of the better performances of his entire goalkeeping career against the current world champions, I think deserves a bit amount of credit. So, yeah, I'll go with him.
Playoff field for Dortmund. They're losing players.
Shut up.
And Tom, who's your pick of the day?
Same sort of thing as Drew, going for a losing team, not just because it's Spain and I'm biased or whatever, but David Silva today, Iniesta didn't have the best of games. He's still a bit of a dictator, but David Silva really picked up the mantle for me. The pass he played for Fabregas for the first goal was exceptional, and he nearly could have saved them a point at the end, which I forgot to mention in my roundup when he hit and Vasalco, the guy who's now newly signed for Atletico Madrid from Sassuolo, I believe. Yep. Who will take over Juan Fran's position eventually, I'm guessing. David Silva was brilliant, so I have to put it to him. But I agree with Drew. McGovern had a great game.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. So it's going to have to be McGovern to put in that performance when you're playing for, Northern Ireland have done really, really well, but the level of players they've got in their squad and the fact that you are playing the world champions. I understand what you're saying about David Silva, a player I really, really like, but you're playing for Spain, so you should be winning. So it's just not good enough.
You say Ward as well.
So no, it's got to be McGovern for me. So he's our hipster of the day. Now we'll just briefly touch on. We haven't really got much time, so I'm just going to get your predictions for tomorrow's games. So Iceland, Austria. Predictions.
Tom,
A 1-0 scrape for Austria.
Okay, Drew. Any different?
I'm gonna go with 1-1.
Oh, okay.
Damn you
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been overly impressed with Austria. And I love the Icelandic chant, so I'm going to go for an Iceland win. Come on. Good Johnson is going to get me a hat-trick.
Oh, he's not. He's not going to start.
Next game, the second game in Group F is Hungary against Portugal. This should be very good. I've been really impressed, overly impressed with Hungary because I didn't really think they'd be that good. But and Portugal been disappointing. So, Drew, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go for a scoring draw. I'm going to say 2-2 because I think Portugal's bound to score and Ronaldo's bound to get a brace at some point. I think he might be amongst the scorers, but Hungary's ability to counter, I think, will serve them well. So I'll say 2-2.
Cool. Tom?
0-0 I'm going for. I'm going for a Ronaldo miss 3 penalties and score 4 offside goals in a chaotic game.
Okay. Very good. And the other 2 games of the day tomorrow is Group E's game. So that's Italy against Republic of Ireland. Tom, where's your thinking?
Probably 0-0 again because, as you say, Italy just do what they want to do to get through. So 0-0.
Yeah, there will be a lot of changes. I think there's rumoured to be 9 changes, but it's probably 7. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the Italy side tomorrow. Drew, any different?
No, I don't know. I think the Republic. I just don't see them ever getting any quality chances against Ireland. I think Italy will. I think they'll get a 1-0, despite the ridiculous amount of changes that Conte is bound to make. I think they'll still finish on 9 points.
Okay. And the last game, but I know certain of our listeners and Chris will be hoping for one result in particular. Sweden versus Belgium. Is it going to be Zlatan's day, or are Belgium going to actually turn up again? Tom?
I think Belgium will walk it 3-0 Belgium.
Wow.
Bold.
Very confident. Okay. Drew?
I was going to say 1-0 Belgium. Sweden just don't offer much in the final third. I think Belgium they're going to struggle tomorrow, I think, but I think they'll still get the win, so 1-0.
I don't think Sweden offer anything in any third.
Yeah, no, I've got to agree with you.
No, I'm not disagreeing necessarily, but I was trying to be diplomatic, but I think Belgium...
I think Belgium will do that. Sweden have been very disappointing in this tournament. Right, so that is it for us tonight. That is what day are we on? 12 now, I think.
I don't know. I don't know what day of the week is.
It's probably something like that. But yeah, no Chris tomorrow, no me tomorrow. It will be Tom, Drew, and Ross. So Tom, you'll be hosting tomorrow, won't you?
Yes.
And then
let the chaos in.
let the chaos. I'm sure Ross will keep you in check. He's the sensible one.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 days off, I think.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, 2 days off. Amazing. So you get your Thursday and Friday off from us, and then we're back Saturday to annoy you all. But yeah, that's all of it from us tonight. So I've got to say those words again. Keep your pipe stoked and your satchel clean. This has been the Football Hipsters podcast.
Thank us.
Thank you for tuning in. And thank you very much to Tom and Drew for being here tonight.
No problem. You remembered.
So, I'm nice. Chris never remembers. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back tomorrow.
Drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, well, he is a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Keller, and they now have the breakthrough. Fail. It's a great effort! Oh my word, what a goal!